So, welcome and thank you so much for your interest. After a successful Congress, we want to give you a final response, a final idea about what the European Parliament party did, EPP did in the last 2 days here in Bucharest. First of all, let me underline that we saw from an EPP point of view strong unity. That is for me as party leader the most important message of Bucharest. We are the party of values. That's why you probably also hear in all the speeches that everybody was committed to the strong support for Ukraine and our Moldavian friends, Georgian friends. So this commitment on a Europe based on values is critical for us and was expressed during the whole Congress. We did our job, we fulfilled our mission. That means we finalized our manifesto. So programmatically, people have a clear idea what EPP is standing for, what is the roadmap for the next 5 years, and their peace and prosperity, two key promises of the European project, must be renewed and are deeply rooted in our mandate. And then the second task was to nominate a lead candidate. And you saw the outcome. We nominated Ursula von der Leyen, the acting Commission President, as our EPP lead candidate for the next 5 years. She presented today the ideas for the future. She will be the face of EPP in the upcoming weeks, will present our ideas to the European citizens. She will do this with a strong record what she did in the past, in the last 5 years. I, as party president, say Europe was in good hands and will be in good hands. That's why congratulations to the nomination. And we also experienced the family to being together as European People's Party to get also motivation for the upcoming campaign. I want to add 2 points. First, for us, the upcoming European elections are a battle about Europe and are a battle about democracy. We are the party who is defending the values of Europe. Christian Democrats were building up today's European Union, and that's why all the extremists and populists are our enemies. We will fight against them. We will protect our European Union. I defined in my speech our clear criteria to build up a firewall against the extremists. No one can be partner who is taking Europe into question. No one can be partner who is friend of Putin and is not supporting Ukraine. And no one can be partner who is destroying or harming rule of law. Clear principles. And in Poland, in Slovakia, in Czech Republic, in Malta, and in Spain, we can see that we as EPP are doing this in everyday work on the ground. And the final point I want to make is that from now on campaign starts. We want to show alternatives. Europeans should have a democratic perspective about what they can decide about the future. We offer different ideas for the way to achieve our common goals. But I want to also underline that in the democratic field, to our socialist partners, to our social renew partners, we do this in respect to all the democratic parties inside of Europe. So let's practice a strong democratic campaign, but also with respect towards each other. That is what we want to offer to our democratic competitors, and we want to motivate as much as we can Europeans to participate. Ursula, I would give you...
Thank you very much, Manfred. And I would like to say once again how touched and grateful I am for the trust that I've gotten by you, by the EPP. This is amazing and this is energizing to move forward now, the 90 days till election day. We all know that our European Union is the most precious thing we have to preserve and to develop for the future generations. That's what we're fighting for. Manfred, I think we've done a lot of things right together in the last 5 years. The track record shows that. Europe has stood its ground under most difficult circumstances, and we have laid the foundation for a successful future. Now we must tackle the stages ahead of us with full concentration and with unity. And this is why I'm running for another term at the helm of the European Commission. I mentioned in my speech all the different geopolitical challenges. Putin must not win the war with which he attempted to shift borders by force again. And we will stand by Ukraine and support it on its further steps towards Europe, because this is the only way that we can preserve the security and the prosperity of the European Union. And it is the right way to tell the autocrats of this world that we will defend our democracies and stand up for our values. We want to maintain a European Union that is strong and secure, that is peaceful and prosperous, and that is democratic and united. We will continue to fight against climate change. We have to think climate protection, economy, and energy as one. This creates good jobs here at home, and we need to invest significantly in more effort in Europe's security. Citizens sense that the risks to our European way of life are there, and we want to give them the answer how to preserve that democracy, prosperity, and security. We know that you cannot have one without the others, and this is why we want to run the election campaign now with all vigor. And this is why EPP and I are campaigning for what EPP and I are campaigning for in the next weeks. I'm very much looking forward to that. As I said, 90 days to go. And thank you very much again for the trust and the support I felt today and in the last weeks and months, for the weeks and months to come.
Thank you so much. I would hand over to Thanasis for the moderation, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Microphones will be distributed. Please state your name and source, please.
Yeah, Andy Bounds from the Financial Times. Your manifesto talks about settling asylum seekers in third countries in accordance with the Geneva Conventions and the ECHR. Could you name some of these countries? And if you can't, aren't you making a promise that you can't keep? Thanks.
I think that it is absolutely clear that whatever we do will be in full respect of our obligations under EU and international law. That's what I also said in my speech. And the concept of safe third countries is not new. It is already established in the EU law. So therefore, the quote that you just gave is in full compliance with the EU law. Our manifesto is written in view of the EU law.
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you. President von der Leyen, the New York Times is suing for access to your texts with Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. Are you concerned about the outcome of that lawsuit? Can you tell us about that exchange? And do you think political transparency and integrity are legitimate issues in your campaign for a new term? Thank you.
Everything necessary about that has been said and exchanged, and we will wait for the results.
Thomas Kutschke.
Thomas Kutschka, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Thanks for the question. Getting back to migration, you said everything in the manifesto is in view of EU law, but of course it deviates strongly from EU law when it suggests that the Rwanda model is something the EPP favors. Clearly, this is a model where everyone, and that's what's said in the text, could be brought to any third country without any prior link to it, which is now the requirement in EU law and also according to the next Pact on Migration, which was agreed. So, could you please say what you think yourself about the Rwanda model and whether you will promote it during the election campaign? Thank you.
So what I just said is that everything which is in the manifesto is in full respect of our international obligations and the European law, and has to be in full respect of the European law. And the concept of the third countries is already in the EU law. So it's nothing new, it's already in there, and we're building on exactly what the treaties say.
And as party president, let me also underline that when you read the manifesto, we clearly express that the Geneva Convention and the asylum right, the two pillars of being a continent of humanitarian approach, is our basic principle. We stick to this. It's clearly mentioned. So our values have to be preserved, has to be protected. But on the other hand, people all over Europe expecting from us that we have to reduce the number of illegal migrants. And that's why what our candidate, what Commission President von der Leyen also said in her speech, that the state decide on the external border and that the smugglers decide who is entering, is exactly our party political message to the citizens. They can count on us that we will use all means we have, all legally possible means we have, to reduce the arrivals of illegal migrants in Europe.
Second row to the left.
Hi, Andra Timo from Bloomberg. I have a question regarding the help for Ukraine. Why do you think it's taking so long to use the frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine? And do you think there's any chance we'll see any of these funds going to Ukraine this year? Thank you so much.
So we've done already important steps forward concerning the windfall profits and the proceeds, of the frozen assets. We have taken the necessary legal steps now to be able to use the proceeds for Ukraine. And now it's more decision on how will we invest them for Ukraine, but that we will use them is now legally secured and decided in the European Union. What the assets are concerned, the immobilized assets themselves are concerned, we have a process in G7 where we are discussing how to deal with them. This process is not finished, but as I said, we are already working with the proceeds in favor of Ukraine.
This gentleman.
Consoliasca, News Italy. I would like to go back to the migration issue, not so much to contest the idea that is or is not in the EU law, international law, but don't you think that this single point characterizes the candidature of Mrs. von der Leyen as too much, as a centre-right candidacy, which would not be supported probably by at least a part of socialists and liberals? Are you not afraid that this point would compromise, would jeopardize possibly the majority in the parliament for Mrs. von der Leyen? Thanks.
I think the opposite is the case, because what we've shown and proven during this mandate is that for the first time since many years, almost 10 years, we were able to have the Pact for Migration and Asylum so that we have common rules within the European Union, among our member states, how to deal and manage migration. We have strengthened the external borders, and this is mostly also connected to the comprehensive agreements that we are taking with countries of transit and of origin. The idea behind it is that we want to protect the precious value of asylum, protecting people that are in need. But what is not acceptable is that migrants that are not in need, not eligible for asylum, are being brought by smugglers and traffickers under incredible circumstances to the European Union. Therefore, I was and am very clear that it is us who decide who comes to us, also the protection of the vulnerable, and under what circumstances, under humane circumstances, not under these horrible circumstances that the smugglers and traffickers offer, where they lure people into with the promises that are false and just horrible. And therefore, to protect the precious right of asylum when you are in need and in need of international protection, we have to be very clear that those who are not in need of protection cannot come to the European Union irregularly, but that there are legal pathways to use. We invest a lot of money now in establishing these legal pathways, for example, in building up education and vocational training in countries of origin or transit, so that we have a regular approach to the topic of migration, and it's not the smugglers and the traffickers that dominate the scene.
And I have to say that we are tackling content in our manifesto, not from a tactical point of view. We do this because there is a question, there is a problem, people are concerned. So I would call our approach a pro-people approach, that we care about the demands, the requests, the concerns of our citizens in Europe. They want to have control about our external border, and that is what we pick up with our proposals, having in mind that the majority of people arriving are illegal migrants and not asylum seekers and not Geneva Convention migrants. That means we have a real problem. We are answering, we're giving an answer to this problem. And let me underline that in a few days we will vote in the European Parliament about the current migration pact. My group, the European People's Party, we will support this pact because we do another step to solve it, to bring again control on our external border and keeping our values alive. But I tell you that I have no certainty from the Greens in this moment of time. And I think everybody is responsible now to give a solid answer. The best concept to fight against extremism is to solve the concerns of our citizens and to give proper answer on this. And that's why we want to solve them, because people are asking us to do so.
Before we go to a final question, please let me express our gratitude as a political family for your presence here and your interest in these 2 days in Bucharest. Final question, and we conclude.
Thank you. Jade Grandin from French daily L'Opinion. Do you think that the French right, les Républicains, have lost their compass, that they are no longer pro-EU? And who is your biggest ally in France? Is it the EPP in France or Renew, the party of Emmanuel Macron?
For us, it's very important, as Manfred already said, that the ones we work together with, that is the democratic parties, and we want to hold the center. That is very important. They are pro the European Union, they are pro-Ukraine, and they are pro-rule of law. And we have seen very clearly with the Rassemblement that they question the European Union and that they are friends of Putin, so that you cannot rely on them. But all those who are very clear what the protection of our values is concerned, again, the European values and the support for Ukraine, which implies that you have to be very clearly distancing you from the aggressor, and the support for the rule of law. These are the criteria for us to cooperate with others in the democratic center.
And I'm proud, having the process in mind, that the European People's Party is also presenting a real European party. We had today a secret ballot. The socialists in Rome had by acclamation their nomination of the candidate, no secret ballot. So we do this in a democratic way. We offer this all in a democratic way. We take our manifesto serious. We stick to this. We believe in what we present to the voters. And let me also underline that also the idea to present before the elections the future Commission President, the person who will then lead if we get the support from the citizens, and also the manifesto, to be transparent on the candidate and also on the content, is our Europe, a democratic Europe, where we want to show up in front of elections, present the Europeans our ideas, and I'm sure that this will help us a lot to win the elections. So thank you also as President for your interests, and wish you a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our lead candidate. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll see you all on the campaign tour. Thank you very much.